We couldn't help but stare at the bright red, oversized t-shirt that covered one of my friend's off-the-shoulder dresses. The shirt hung clumsily on her body. I remember how she pulled at the baggy sleeves, drooping over her dark brown arms. Next to her, I saw a white girl, smiling, laughing, wearing the same dress, but without the red shirt. I remember seeing my friend's face, hurt and humiliated, as she avoided my eye contact. The dreaded red shirt was given out by staff to girls wearing clothes deemed inappropriate. Normally bubbly and talkative, my friend stayed quiet. This is how it feels to be shamed. Black and brown girls at my school were often given the red shirt. The threat of the red shirt made me and my friends feel like a target. I didn't want the stares or the automatic sexualization that went along with the red shirt. So I began to subconsciously believe the stereotypes that existed about myself. As Black and brown girls in America, we are socialized to dim our lights and even shrink ourselves in exchange for feeling safer and avoiding conflict. Socialization like this is called adultification. Adultification means adults perceiving Black and brown children as biologically older than they are, meaning Black and brown children, girls in my case, are more susceptible to stereotypes such as being too loud, too aggressive, or hypersexualized as seen with the red shirt. All of these stereotypes are harmful, but are especially harmful when placed on children. Georgetown law researchers have been researching the adultification bias in the context of schools and criminal justice. In 2017, they published a study highlighting that Black girls were 3 times more likely to be disciplined for subjective infractions like bullying, harassment, disobedience, and fighting. Each of these infractions align with the stereotypes that people, particularly non-Black people, have about Black women. Researchers also measured attitudes in a survey among adults of various racial and ethnic backgrounds. They found that as young as 5 years old, Black girls were more likely to be viewed as seeming and behaving older than their actual age and more knowledgeable about adult topics like sex. Black and brown girls aren't allowed to be children. They aren't afforded the innocence of childhood or given the protection they deserve. This can manifest in them having a sensitivity about their body or overcompensating for their perceived loudness by muting themselves entirely, or putting up a wall of defense that will not only protect and insulate themselves from continued abuse, but will also distort their own perception of what it means to make a meaningful connection. Internalizing these stereotypes can strengthen a phenomenon called the stereotype threat. The stereotype threat is when a person of a marginalized identity behaves in a certain way out of fear of being stereotyped. In my qualitative research and maternal health care experiences among Black and Latina women, the combined impact of adultification and stereotypes can be seen among adults today. For instance, a mother described her fear of being labeled as someone's bad patient. She recounts asking the nurses how they're doing before the nurses say a word. Still, the nurses had been short with her, not introducing themselves or asking how she was doing. Despite being hesitant, the mother asked for an ice pack. The nurse flippantly tossed one at the bedside table, validating her need to be on the defense, her fear of being stereotyped. The mother's behavior instantly reminded me of my own experience. At 16 years old, I did everything I could to not get the red shirt. By covering up my body to avoid being targeted as too loud, too aggressive, or hypersexualized. 16 years old, and it worked, but I was never able to experience the fullness of childhood, the mistakes, the freedom to wear what I want, to speak without fear of judgment. So, what can be done? It is clear that adultification and the stereotype threat are traumatic and dehumanizing realities for Black and brown girls with lifelong impacts. In Michelle Obama's memoir, Becoming, she says, kids wake up each day believing in the goodness of things, in the magic of what might be. Besides being incredibly honest at times, kids are truly the epitome of goodness and humanity. They are open-minded and naturally embrace people. We can learn a lot as adults by intentionally doing these things in spite of the biases we internalize. I'm sure many people have heard of this idea of examining your own biases, but what does that really mean? Part of the process is intentionally asking yourself, what do I really believe about people that look differently than me? What messages did you receive as a child about people that look differently than you? Whether this was from your family, friends, TV shows, movies, social media, and also asking what rules around me reinforce those beliefs. Asking yourself these questions and candidly answering them are all part of being more conscious about race and the lifelong impacts on Black and brown people. You can make the difference in your daily interactions. Listening and believing in us is one of the most impactful ways of creating safety. I could not ignore my fear of the red shirt or my friend's hurt wearing the shirt. Talking about racial biases and stereotypes in all aspects of life is crucial. Avoiding race discussion is a privilege.